She had everything anyone could dream of. A stable job, a good income, the image of the modern woman. But every night before bed, she quietly cried. Not from exhaustion, but from a strange emptiness that made life feel soulless. Have you ever felt like her, still breathing, still trying? Yet it feels like your soul has lost something essential, something you can't quite name. Modern women carry two burdens on their shoulders: to succeed and still be gentle, to be independent but still yearn to be loved, to be perfect but never appear weak. And along the way, something sacred slips away: the feminine inner child, the part of your soul that once knew how to dream, to feel deeply, and to live authentically. Do you recognize yourself here? Chronic fatigue with no clear reason, even when life is fine. Always trying to fit into others' expectations. Unable to cry, unable to say, "I need to be loved," for fear of seeming weak. Feeling strangely unsettled when others live freely, as if you've lost that ability long ago. Jung called this the separation from the archetypal self, a quiet loss that happens when the outside world starts shaping your inner one, and the child you once were, gentle, sensitive, full of wonder, was cast into the unconscious, still crying, but unheard. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Returning to yourself is not an easy road, but it is the only path back to wholeness, where you no longer need to perform, you only need to be." Your original feminine essence, what Jung called thema, is not about looking beautiful, acting sweet, or becoming someone's ideal. It's a state of soul, the ability to live truthfully, to feel deeply, and to meet the world with a soft, powerful presence. But to reconnect with it, you must return to where you lost it: childhood. Because there in the shadows of your psyche, the sacred girl child is still waiting for you, not to be fixed, but to be acknowledged. This video isn't just about healing. It's a pathway home through Jungian symbols, through recognizing your feminine shadow, and ultimately through reclaiming the inner child who holds the key to your original energy, creativity, intuition, and sacred femininity. I'll walk you through each step: how to identify unconscious wounds, how to hear the forgotten voice inside, and how to begin unblocking the feminine essence that's been suppressed for too long. You don't need to become a better version of yourself. You only need to remember you were already whole and radiant before the world taught you to hide it. So stay with me in this video, because maybe, just maybe, this isn't a video you stumbled across. It's the calling you've been hearing from your unconscious for a very long time. Psychological mechanism: the abandoned child and the feminine shadow. Some feelings never go away even after we've grown up. Some wounds never bleed outward, yet silently seep within the mind each day. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." And for many women, that burden is having to become the good girl just to be loved. From a young age, we're taught that softness must have limits, that tears are weakness, that a good girl doesn't bother anyone and always smiles. The once carefree, creative, and vibrant child learns to shrink herself to fit the expectations of adults. Each time she hears "stop crying," each comparison to someone else, each moment of emotional neglect is a cut on the soul. That soul doesn't disappear, it retreats into the shadows, becoming part of the shadow Jung, described as everything we do not wish to become. In women, this shadow often holds two archetypes: the orphan, the child who was unloved, unprotected; the good girl, the one who tries to earn love by pleasing everyone but herself. Do any of these feel familiar? Obsessive overthinking from fear of abandonment, oversensitivity to even small rejections, shame when expressing emotions, difficulty saying no for fear of disappointing others. These are not your flaws. These are the voices of the shadow, the unconscious part of you, forced into silence just to survive. Jung called this repetition compulsion, the unconscious act of recreating old wounds in new relationships as if your soul hopes that this time it will be healed. A familiar example: that might be you. Picture a 35-year-old woman. She's intelligent, independent, professionally successful. But in love, she reverts to a child, vulnerable, anxious, afraid of loss, never feeling enough. A single unanswered message can unravel her emotionally. She doesn't yet realize that pain isn't from today. It's the cry of a little girl once left behind. From the good girl to the lost woman. The good girl archetype, obedient, perfect, is often praised, but its dark side is self-erasure. The more a woman lives by that script, the farther she drifts from her true self. Why? Because good is not a personality, it's a survival strategy. It's how the inner child avoids abandonment. But as we grow up, that strategy becomes a prison. You stop saying what you want. You censor your softness. You live in emotional self-policing. And in doing so, you lose your most sacred gift, the ability to live as your true self. The way out is not avoidance, it is looking inward. Jung didn't encourage rejecting the shadow. On the contrary, he called healing a process of integration, a union between light and darkness. Only when you dare to face the rejected, wounded parts of yourself can you begin the journey home. This is not a path of fixing yourself. It's the first time you truly see yourself whole. And when you realize I was never wrong for feeling deeply, that is the moment your inner child begins to breathe again. If what you just heard made you feel seen, leave a comment below. You don't need to explain it all. Just say, I see myself in this. Sometimes a single honest sentence is the hand that pulls someone else out of the dark. And if you've worn the good girl mask for too long, try sharing, I used to be the good girl. You're not alone. We are walking toward the light together. So what happens when you begin to listen again to your inner child? How can your feminine energy, long suppressed, finally rise naturally and fully? In the next part, we'll explore the sacred nature of feminine energy, what Jung called thema, not a performance, but a soul-deep presence unique to every woman, and how the child you once were holds the key to that return. Keep going, because you deserve to live love and show up in this world without pretending anymore. Sacred feminine energy and the true path home. If the shadow has trapped the little girl you once were, then the first thing it locks away is this feminine energy, the true soul of a woman. Carl Jung called it thema, a deep archetype in the unconscious, a symbol of intuition, emotion, receptivity, and inner life. But many modern women no longer recognize thema. They mistake it for what society calls feminine gentleness, likability charm, the ability to please. That's a borrowed femininity, a false feminine, a mask shaped by the fear of rejection. Many wear it like tight shoes, smiling when they want to cry, appearing composed while a storm rages inside. True femininity cannot be performed. It arises when you're no longer afraid of your emotions, when you allow yourself to tremble from a single glance, to go quiet from the power of a song, or to cry for no reason at all. It is the ability to connect with life through intuition, without logic, without needing an outcome. But to survive, women have learned another language, the language of reason, productivity, action. To be recognized, they must be strong, goal-oriented, in control. And slowly they forget how to live like a stream, soft yet enduring, quiet yet vibrant. Behind those powerful exteriors is often a woman exhausted to her core, longing to exhale, to be herself without fear of judgment or ridicule. Restoring thema is not a technique. It's a symbolic journey, as Jung emphasized. It requires symbolic rituals, soul-touching experiences, not just advice or knowledge. Here are some rituals that might awaken thema again. Meditating in stillness, placing your hand on your heart, listening to yourself like reuniting with an old friend. Picking up a paintbrush and painting with your heart, not to create beauty, but to express truth. Dancing with your own body, letting it lead, not the mind. Walking barefoot on the earth, touching nature the way a child touches her mother. Writing a letter to the little girl within, whispering, I see you now. You don't have to hide anymore. These aren't steps to achieve something. They are ways of returning, like a stream flowing back to its source, like a heart remembering its true rhythm. One woman shared on them, I used to think I had to be tough to be strong, but when I let myself cry, I discovered a gentle strength I never knew existed. That is the power of true femininity. If you recognize even a part of yourself in these words, leave something in the comments below, a feeling, a memory, or simply, I'm returning. In a noisy and demanding world, your honesty may be the soft breeze that makes someone else pause and remember who they are. In the next part, we'll continue this journey into what Jung called individuation, the integration of the full self. It's not just about healing, it's about learning to live as your whole being. Individuation, the journey back to wholeness. Arnoldness, Carl Jung once wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to truly be yourself, you must be willing to lose everything you once believed was you. Individuation. The journey back to the authentic self doesn't begin with light. It begins with a mysterious calling from the depths, from the place where you were once wounded, from where your inner girl still waits, longing to be seen. Jung described individuation as a three-phase process, not linear, but spiral. A repeated descent into the soul's depths, followed by a rising freer, more whole each time. Phase 1. Descent into the shadow. Individuation doesn't begin with self-improvement. It begins with the courage to look at the parts of yourself you've abandoned. The weak part, the angry part, the jealous part, the part labeled too sensitive, too needy, too much. For the modern woman, this descent isn't triggered by dramatic tragedy. It often comes through a quiet, haunting emptiness when everything seems fine, yet life feels lifeless. When you realize that your mask, the image of independent, successful, stable, is hiding a silent, weeping child inside. Jung called this the dark night of the soul, a chaotic, painful period where old values collapse and your true self has yet to emerge. No one can walk into the darkness for you, but it is precisely there that light first begins to flicker. Phase 2. Confrontation. Dialoguing with the shadow. Once you've touched your pain, a choice appears. Keep avoiding it or face it. If you're brave enough to ask, where is this anger coming from? Why am I so terrified of being abandoned? Then you've begun a dialogue with your shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is a forgotten part of the soul left behind because it was once rejected. As a child, you cried and were punished. You felt sad and were told you were weak. So you learned to be good, strong, and control at the cost of abandoning your most authentic self. In this phase, journaling, therapy, painting, poetry, intuitive movement, they all become sacred tools. Each word you write, each tear you allow to fall is a step toward welcoming the exiled part of your soul back into the light. Phase 3. Reintegration, becoming whole again. When you no longer deny your fears, when you stop feeling ashamed of your emotions, that's when your soul begins to reunite. No longer a war between the strong woman by day and the weeping child by night. No longer a split between logic and softness, intellect and emotion. You become whole not by choosing sides, but by embracing all of it. One woman shared, "I live like a hollow shell, but when I wrote my first letter to the little girl inside me, I cried as if I'd never cried before. And strangely, I came home not by becoming someone new, but by returning to myself whole, soft, and more powerful than ever." Individuation is not for the hurried. It's a lifelong journey, layer by layer undoing the defenses, until you reach the raw, sacred beauty that's been buried for too long. If you are standing in the darkness now, don't rush to escape. Instead, sit quietly and ask yourself, what part of me is aching to be seen? There are thousands of women walking the same path in the chaos of roles, in the illusion of perfection. They too are quietly seeking the way home. Leave a comment below. I am stepping into the darkness to reclaim my light. Your words may be the spark that guides another home. Coming next, in the following part, we won't just speak of healing as a concept. We'll begin to practice it, simple, deep methods for reconnecting with your inner child day by day. Daily practice, connecting with the inner child. When Jung discovered the principle of the ego-self axis, the thread between the conscious ego and the deep self, he realized healing doesn't happen in one explosive moment. It unfolds through small, repeated acts of care. Reconnecting with the inner child is just the same. It's not a breakthrough. It's a relationship, one that requires patience, repetition, and sincere love. This child was once abandoned in silence. So the first step is to learn to listen. And the most powerful way to listen, through daily symbolic practice. Below are 3 methods to reconnect with your inner child, each grounded in a core Jungian principle, along with journaling prompts to support your sacred reconnection. Active imagination practice. Find a quiet space. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Visualize entering a room, and in that room, a child is waiting for you. Let the scene form naturally. No need to control it. Gently ask, "What do you need from me?" You don't need to fix, analyze, or explain. Just be there. Afterward, write down what you saw as if recording a dream. This is the practice of active imagination, which Jung used to converse with his own unconscious. Journaling prompts. What was the child wearing? What did they look like? What feelings came up during the meeting? What did the child say to you? Practice 2-3 times a week, ideally after meditation or before sleep. Dialogue with the inner mother archetype. Many children grow up without emotional nurturing from their real mother. Jung called the maternal image the mother archetype, a force that can both nurture and wound. Try this. Write a letter to your inner child, but write it as the inner mother they deserved. Not your real-life mom, but a loving, patient, unconditional voice. Start with, "Dear little one inside me, today I saw you." Write as if you are cradling that trembling child without judgment. Practice 1-2 times a week, especially when feeling vulnerable. Small symbolic acts showing love through the physical, Jung emphasized. Symbolic acts bridge the gap between the conscious and unconscious. Simple material actions can remind your inner child, I'm here. I haven't forgotten you. Examples. Cook a meal you loved as a child. Buy back an old toy from your past. Place a childhood photo somewhere you'll see often. Reflection prompts. What did I do today to make them feel loved? When was the last time they really laughed? Practice daily, especially on high-stress days. Every journal entry, every small act. Each one is a stone laid on the bridge between your present self and the original child within. And slowly the distance shrinks, until one day, you no longer hear a vague cry from within, because that child now sits beside you, hand in hand, breathing with you, living with you. Share in the comments which practice resonated most with you. Or do you have a healing habit you'd like to share with others? You don't have to be perfect to be lovable. You only need to be honest. And from that honesty, your inner world will begin to bloom little by little. In the final part, we'll ascend to the highest stage of this journey, true individuation, living with soul creativity and sacred freedom. Living with soul, freedom, creativity, and authenticity. When you begin the journey of healing your inner child and restoring sacred feminine energy, you're not just healing the past, you're opening the door to an entirely new life. A life where you don't just survive, but truly live with soul, with original creativity, and with unconditional freedom. Jung called this the expression of the self, the whole integrated being each of us carries within from birth. Soul expression is not a fixed image, it is movement. It's a river that flows sometimes gently like a stream, other times wildly like a flood. And in this flow, three ancient archetypes emerge: wild woman, innocent child, and sacred feminine. Three waves from the same ocean. Wild woman, freedom as instinct. The wild woman is not rebellion. She is the primal self, the part of a woman that remembers her natural rhythm. In Jungian terms, this is the unconscious that connects to the earth, to vital instinct, to the fire of creativity. Have you ever felt an urge to dance for no reason, to write poetry while cooking, to cry in the forest or laugh wildly at night? That's the wild woman whispering to you. She doesn't ask for perfection, only for presence. Try this put on any music. No choreography, no mirror. Just close your eyes and let your body lead. Then ask, what did I feel when I let go of control? Symbolic prompts: fire, lioness, ancient forest circle of flame and drums. Innocent child, creativity is sacred play. This child isn't afraid of mistakes. She draws on walls, on paper with her eyes. She doesn't care who's watching. This archetype opens the door to creative flow, the effortless state of expression. Jung said, the soul truly knows how to play. You may have once been a little girl who hummed songs, quietly wrote in a diary with a purple pen, imagined being a light princess or a nighttime witch. Let her come back, not to make something good, but just to play. Try this. Create something today with no goal, a scribble, a silly song, a collage. Then ask, how long have I abandoned this child? Symbolic prompts: crayons, wooden dolls, butterflies, soap bubbles. Sacred feminine, healing through presence. If the wild woman is fire and the innocent child is air, then the sacred feminine is water. This is the deepest archetype where you become a safe space for yourself and for others. Feminine energy here isn't appearance. It's your capacity to sit with, to listen, to accept, and to create from within. Jung called it the great mother, the source of nourishment for the soul. Try this. Choose a moment you usually rush drinking tea, dressing, looking in the mirror, and turn it into a ritual. Do it slowly, as if you were worshiping a goddess who lives within you. Symbolic prompts: moonlight, flowing water, sacred wells, lotus flowers. You already carry all three of these archetypes. You don't need to study more, only to remember. Share in the comments which part feels most alive in you right now. What is holding you back from fully embodying her? You are not alone on this journey. Everyone in this space is a mirror of light for each other. Be brave. Let your voice speak, the one you thought you lost long ago. In the final chapter, we won't just explore theory, we'll touch the sacred, how to let the inner child and free soul walk beside you every day in the middle of your busy, pressured modern life. A call back to the soul. You've walked a sacred path from the rejected shadow to the forgotten child to the luminous sacred feminine. But the true journey is only just beginning. Carl Jung once wrote, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. And that choice begins now, the moment you decide to no longer turn away from your inner world. In a world that rushes, where the noise outside is always louder than the whisper within, the simple act of pausing to listen to yourself is already a quiet revolution. The moment you sit and write to your inner child, no matter how simple, is already an act of sacred love. So let this be your gentle invitation. Write a letter to your inner child every week. It doesn't have to be long, just honest. Ask, how did you feel this week? Then listen for the answer that comes without words. Create a sacred space just for you. It can be an altar, a journal, a dance, anything that reminds you you are not just a mother-daughter lover or achiever. You are a soul in a body worthy of reverence. Join a workshop, a healing circle, or a shadow work session. Don't walk this path alone, because the journey back to your soul was never meant to be walked in isolation. And if this video touched something in your heart, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might also be carrying a lonely child, a silenced woman, a self that's never been welcomed. Leave a comment below. What part of me is longing to live again? Or something simple and raw, like I see myself in the wild woman I forgot how to play. And if you feel like you belong on this journey, don't leave. Subscribe to the channel, because this won't be the last video. We will keep exploring anima and animus dreams, the mother archetype, the lover archetype, and the symbols you see in your unconscious every day, but never knew how to name. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You only need to be honest with yourself. We do not heal to become someone else. We heal to return to ourselves whole, soft, and no longer asking for permission to exist. Thank you for being here, for showing up to your own soul.